What's happening, folks? Welcome back to Celtic Fans TV. Welcome to the preview show for Saturday's game against Rangers. We're back here in the studio. I've got Callum with me to look ahead to the big game. Callum, it's about 12 months actually for the last time we've done a preview show in here, which number one is shocking for me, but listen, I've been busy, right? And it was this game last season basically, about this time. That game was at Ibrox, this one's at Celtic Park. It's the third league derby of the season. Obviously, if you think back to last season's game, the one at Ibrox, we won 2-1. It effectively sealed the title for us. That was the first memorable thing that happened that day. The next one was Rangers with the tragic Old Firm banners. And then remember the pictures in the bin after the game outside Ibrox, putting them straight in the bin. Brilliant.
Aye, brilliant. I can remember that game. I remember doing the preview in here. That was the first time we had done the preview in here, with the great Kyogo Muro. And I predicted 2-1, a centre back to score a goal when it happened. So
did you back it?
I didn't back it, mate, no. But for people watching this, back what I'm going to get into later on for the prediction, back it, cause it's going to come in. But aye, massive game. It was a real curve for Celtic and Ange at that moment, because it was going away to Ibrox because we lost the first game. I remember Hollander scored. Even though we kind of dominated the game, had good chances in that game, it just kind of passed us by. But that was a real foot on the neck of Rangers, saying that's us here, and the title's almost sealed. I think that was 6 points. 6 points that we kept it at. Sorry, was it 3 and it went to 6?
I was 3 going into that game.
Sorry,
and we
was,
wanted
aye,
to
so
take
it
it to 6.
It was a really big game, especially going 1-0 down. Early as well, you could have crumbled, but the team showed what they're made of, and they stuck to the game plan. What we've seen for the last 17-18 months under Ange is they genuinely they never stop, and they believe in what they do, and 9 out of 10 times that will come to the fruits of that, and usually we win the games, and that's what we've seen so far this season.
Aye, absolutely. Before we get to this game, by the way, don't want to talk about the semi-final, but the ballot came out yesterday. You in?
Aye, I got a ticket, luckily, because there's been times where I've never got a ticket and you're raging and you think, why always me, and all these things, but I was very, very lucky to get a ticket. Me and my dad, because my wee brother actually never got a ticket, so there you go. It happens in households. That'll be across the country that will happen to.
It's always going to be unfair for somebody. I'm 2 in a row now because I'm at the League Cup final 2019. I wasn't in that one, so wasn't to be in this one. Right, you weren't on last week, obviously, after the Ross County game. It was the first game back after the international break. What did you make of it? Just a quick reflection in that game, and do you think it's got any bearing coming into this week?
If you didn't watch the game and you're listening to us, it sounds like, and you look at the results, a comfortable result, 2-0. You look at the shots, there wasn't many shots for Ross County. But if you actually watched it, it was a bit of a boring game. It was one of the ones that you probably don't remember that much compared to Ralston's one last year that you'll always remember. But it wasn't a great game to watch. Ross County were predictable, they were stuffy, they were tight, they were making it hard. I thought their pressing was really good, to be fair to them at times. They pressed
early
the game.
In the second half,
about a 10-minute spell. We actually couldn't get up the pitch, credit to Ross County. But eventually the quality that you can bring off the bench ends up taking a toll. And you look at bringing Bernabe, who's somebody that's a project player. He's young, he's hot and cold at times, I feel it. He's really good going forward, but defensively I think people can get at him, but that's natural for him. He's just had a newborn there. He's just moved to the country from Argentina, so there's a lot of factors in there. His goal's brilliant, innit? His goals just hits straight through the ball and it goes right to left, top corner, and hopefully that gives him a lot of confidence. But aye, 3 points gets us closer to the title.
Saturday at Celtic Park, brilliant by the way. It's not often you get these games on a Saturday, but our home form has been excellent this season. We've had 15 games, won all 15, but the home form under Ange in the league has been almost impeccable. Played 34, won 31, drawn 3, and that's a real contrast. I know that the season before he came in was COVID, so you can't really read anything into that in terms of Celtic Park being a fortress because there wasn't any fans there, but the home form has been a real pillar for us, and we've been brilliant at home under Ange.
We've battled teams. Even when you look at we came away for Leipzig losing 3-1, and we had Hibs at Celtic Park, we won 6-1, I believe it was. It shows that even though when you've came off a European result and it's not the best result, Celtic just bounced back, and especially at home we've been really good with battled teams. I mean, obviously we battled Dundee United 9-0 away from home, so our away form is really good as well, but our home record's really good. We've won every game so far this season at home. I think the closest under pressure's probably been 1-0 down to like Hibs and Hearts. First 15-25 minutes into a game, that's when we've been under a bit of pressure. But the team's not panicked. They've no crumbled. The atmosphere's not changed. It's almost like, right, let's wake up, let's just lift our levels and we'll get goals. And that's what we know. We'll always get goals like that. And especially if you look at the most of the games, I can't remember the exact stat, but Celtic have scored, I don't know the exact number, but so many goals in the last from 75 to 90 minutes. They've just battered teams, and that's something that's really good under Ange. Is you always know if you go into a game one each, you don't panic. It's going 50 minutes left. You know that you've got a great chance, and that comes down to having that home support. They've really stuck by Ange. We've really bought into what he gave us. That's why everybody loves him so much. The guy's slowly becoming a legend at the club, because everybody just adores Ange, and that's what you get. So at Celtic Park, we're probably an unmovable object. We can't really get stopped. There's nobody in the league's good enough to take points off us at home.
Do you know, see, just talking about the games this season where you've maybe been under a wee bit of pressure, do you know the game that everybody I think forgets about sometimes, that Dundee United game? Remember they get it back to 2-2 and there was only like 3 minutes left?
Aye.
And
they scored in the 86th minute, I'm sure.
Aye, and then Kyogo gets the third for the corner, and then Abada for 4-2. That was a key game, man. Early in the season, he didn't want to be dropping points at home, but we've been brilliant, absolutely brilliant at home. Obviously, it's been 6 weeks since we last faced Rangers in the League Cup final. Thinking back to that game, I thought on the day it was a really good performance, really assured performance. Speaking to some people after the game, they say that maybe it wasn't their best performance of the season. I know that it was 2-1 in the end, and when we got up 2-0, you think we're maybe going to go and win this really comfortably, but we knew it was going to be close. It was a cup final, it's against your major rivals. I thought the way the players dealt with it was brilliant. I don't think the occasion got to them at all. I thought the way they dealt with the ball, the trust they had in each other in terms of the movement, taking the ball under pressure, being brave on it, I thought they were absolutely impeccable in that way. That's the thing that created the 2 goals. It was 2 excellent goals in the day. And I think that performance really underlined that if we turn up and play to that level, that we're the stronger team over Rangers now. We're
the dominant team with the ball on the ground and playing football. Touching on that game really quickly, I remember going to it and you always feel nervous. It's a cup final and you just don't want to think, what if we lose? What's the feeling, the momentum in football? It can always change super quick in games and turn people's seasons around, and that was really it was a real incentive for Celtic to get it, especially with the treble talk and stuff like that. But to get the cup final, it's almost like a dagger into Beale when he's just trying to climb the ladder and get his foot on the ladder to kind of catch up with Celtic. It's almost like shoving him back off that ladder, saying, you're not even getting on it, mate. That's how far we are ahead. And in that game, 2-1 doesn't look like it looks like a close game, but the reality was it wasn't that actually close. Celtic dominated the game. If you look at the stats, most touches, possession wise, everything was in Celtic's favour, and the 2 goals come through really good football. And I know we'll talk about Hatate and Moy, but they 2 were really pivotal in that game. The top do go with O'Reilly because that's been the talk over certain derby games, but he got it spot on with Moy. He picks up great little pockets and causes all sorts of bother, whether defenders come and close that gap but then create space for Maeda and Abada likes to get in behind people like that. But that game was a game where Celtic controlled the pace of it. I think that's fair to say. Didn't really let Rangers get into a rhythm. Their goal comes from, I think it's a handball on Johnson, if I'm right. I think a handball. They whip the ball in and it favours where else it falls to him and he gets it. It's no like they've cut us open going, that was dodgy there. Our goals were like that, where Rangers fans would probably be sitting going, they've just played some alright football and just cut us open, there's not much we can do. So from that game, Celtic will take lots of confidence. I think they'll be going into the game Saturday feeling confident. I know we'll touch on the atmosphere and stuff later on, but this time obviously it's a lot more in our favour with the 60,000 rather than a 50-50 split, and it shows that Celtic can deal going to Ibrox 2 each with the crowd completely against us. But we showed that even when we don't play well, we can still get results. And then you look at Hampden, when it's 50-50 split, I think we turned up. I thought we did play really well.
See, after that game, the cup final, there's a lot of talk about Rangers' approach to the game, their team selection as well. There was obviously a lot of talk about Raskin and Cantwell not starting, but I thought, I don't know if their approach to the game is maybe a wee bit tentative that day. You've got to think coming into this game, I mean, it's win or bust for them to keep any percentage chance alive at having a realistic opportunity, even getting some form of title race after the split. They need to win it on Saturday. would you think that means for their approach? Do you think they need to go for it?
I'm not sure. Obviously they will go for it in spells. They're not going to come and attack us for 90 minutes. One, they've not got the legs. I mean, if you're going to play Ryan Jack and either Lundstram if Raskin's not fit, or if Raskin does play, I still think that games like this can pass players like that by if they've not experienced it, especially at Celtic Park when everybody's going to be against him. I mean, his first touch has to be impeccable, or bang, we're on you, and that's what he'll probably experience if he does play. If it does go with Jack and Lundstram, that's quite slow midfielders, and you're not going to have the legs to press Celtic all match. So Celtic are going to dominate the ball. That's what we're good at. That's what we've shown. The 4-0, the 3-0 games last season, we're good at that. So I don't think Rangers will attack us full throttle, but there will be times where they'll have their moments, they'll try and pick us off. I actually think that they'll not play a striker. I don't think they're going to go with Morelos or a Cholak. I think they're probably going to go with either Tillman up top on his own, as in somebody that can get in behind, or somebody that can come to feet, and then that will draw one of our centre-backs out, so then like Ryan Kent or Sakala with the pace can try and get in behind and keep it narrow. And at Celtic,
I think Morelos will stick on.
See, I just don't, just simply because he's overweight, right? But the fact is, right, the difference is that he doesn't want to be at the club. His times came to an end. It's almost like the way that we had with Edward. He was just kind of like half-hearted. You remember the Ibrox, the miss that he has in the 1-0 game that we lose? I mean, that's easy. Edward scores that all the time. Yeah. But when your head's not there, that's like Morelos for me. I don't really think that he wants to stay at the club any longer. There's a few players throughout that squad I think that's going to be in that mindset. So I think they're probably going to be in for a tough task on Saturday. But I think they'll probably approach it cautious, because they know if they concede an early goal, then that's in the mindsets of Taverniers, and Goldson's going, we've been here, I've seen this story and I don't like how it plays and I want to get out of here. So I think they'll approach it cautious, but they will try and pick us at times. They'll need to try and pick us at times.
I think the thing about the cup final was, I don't know if they tried to be tentative at they tried to press a wee bit and then stood off. I don't know how much of that was down to Celtic's performance in the day, but the difficulty with trying to live with this Celtic team is the movement. Mm-hmm. And they'll obviously try and stop Callum McGregor, right? Try and stop Callum McGregor building the game, because he's where everything goes through for us. But Taylor comes in the pitch, creates a bit of an overload, and I think I remember the cup final, Sakala wide in the right, maybe Tillman in one in midfield. Mm-hmm. And when Taylor goes in there to give us superiority in numbers, does Tillman go in to close down Taylor? Does it drag Sakala in? And then Hatate drifts off to the left-hand side. Maeda's held his position high on the left-hand side. And that movement, they just couldn't deal with. That's the root of the first goal as well. Mm-hmm. We build the first goal down the left-hand side. And I think that movement just makes it so difficult for them to try and stop this Celtic team. And
again, we talk about it, it's legs. Rangers don't have the legs in the middle of the park, whether the goal you're asking or not. And I've not seen much of asking, to be fair. I've seen a wee bit of 10 minutes when he came on in the cup final. Don't really think didn't go, oh, he's a player. It didn't really shock me. So I'd probably say is Rangers are going to struggle, because you talk about that movement. If you actually watch it and take your Celtic hat off and just see and watch it from a football perspective, so what will happen is Greg Taylor will come in his verted role, he'll take the ball, but as soon as he looks wide, he can have 3 players wide, where there's only probably one in that position, where it will be Tavernier, where he goes, does he stick or does he go? You'll have Hatate that will touch the byline, you'll then have Daizan Maeda, and then sometimes Kyogo will even come over, which then allows Jota to go into the middle. You look at the one each game last year, that's how Jota gets his goal. The ball gets swung in, and he beats Bassey, I'm sure it is, and just pokes it into that post where Abada would usually be. Look at the Abada goals, that's happened. So Celtic do that very well. They shift Rangers and they move them across to allow that space, so it's a one-on-one in the back post area. We've seen so many goals like that. And as again, Rangers will need legs, because the atmosphere is going to be massive. That's going to be a factor. It's like a 12th man. Don't want to say all the cliches in that, but it genuinely is. It's going to give the Celtic players a massive lift, and that little bit 10% energy, where Rangers might feel that 10% getting taken away from them almost.
Do you think that'll put a bit of doubt in their mind about their approach if they're going to try and go for it? Obviously there'll be a stage of the game where they'll need to try and go for it, because they need to win the game. Mm-hmm. Do you think that'll put a seed of doubt in their mind, the absence of away fans?
It probably will, because let's be honest, football fans do make the game, and again, cliches no one to go through them all, right, but it really is important to have fans. We seen that when COVID was here. Like, the football was across everywhere was just terrible to watch. It wasn't enjoyable, and a lot of the big teams were all losing like their titles and stuff like that. A lot across Europe, that was. There was a lot of freak results. Obviously, one in Scotland happened at all. So, because you look at it, once fans are back, it's kind of went back to how it was. So the fans are massive. Now, me, and just my own opinion, is I'm not that fussed with away fans being there or not. It doesn't. I'm not really like pro fans in or pro fans out. It doesn't really bother me either way. Probably my best ever game at Celtic Park outside of the Barcelona was that 3-0 in February. I just felt there was something in the air that night. Maybe it was a night-time game, the lights. It was just unbelievable. Like, I'll never ever forget that, ever. So I'm almost looking for that again on Saturday. And I remember thinking about the Rangers players. They struggled that night. I remember, and I think they're probably going to struggle again on Saturday, because the small details of coming out to warm up, they would usually have the 750 in that away end already full, because they need to be in early. So they'll be banging the drums, singing the songs, the players can applaud them. Don't have that this time, so it's almost like keeping your head down and like, right, lads, keep your head down, let's just warm up and then let's go back in, strip on, and let's come out like in and out quick as we can. That's what it almost feels like a snatch and grab they're almost going to try and do. You're probably going to see it on Saturday. I think anyway, you're going to probably see Rangers probably struggle in that atmosphere. I think it's going to be massive.
I think it's a big factor. I think in terms of starting it in the favour of the home team, I think that's absolutely huge. I think if you were to extrapolate forward 5 years, I think the home team will come out on top a lot of times when there's absolutely no away fans. There's a few personnel challenges for us. Obviously, Hatate and Moy missed the game at Ross County the weekend. They two are absolutely key for us. We talked about the cup final. They were both instrumental in both goals. What do we do there if one of them or both of them don't make it?
It's a problem. It probably is. Saying that, I'm just thinking, do they go with Iwata or do they stick with O'Reilly and Turnbull that have seen it and done it, that have been there? That's probably, because Iwata, I think since he's come in, has actually been alright. I think he's done well. I quite like him in that whole role. You'll see him a lot more in there in Europe, probably with him and McGregor. It'll probably change from 2 8s to probably almost 2 6s sitting in Europe, and only having 1 8 to try and help the three up front. But that will not happen in this game, so I actually think that he might probably go with O'Reilly and Turnbull if they two aren't there. The two, if they're not there, it's a real leveller. It feels almost like it gives Rangers not an advantage, but it almost feels like
bit of belief in it.
Like John Lundstrom's going, brilliant attack, he's not playing, because just the way that he moves, he can drop a shoulder, and you talk about it. The first goal in the cup final, quickly, I remember Hatate takes the ball, he ends up turning Tillman, and then Lundstrom doesn't know whether to come or go, and he almost gets caught in the middle. He then plays that pass into, I think, is it Daizen Maeda? I think
it's Moy.
And is it Moy? It is Moy, and then he ends up playing, Baldy Heeds. He ends up playing that ball out to Taylor and across, but Hatate's pivotal in there. The second goal again, instead of Hatate having the ball, it's his running that causes Rangers the problems. He ends up running, I think he's on shoulder with Connor Goldson, I think it is, in between Goldson and Tavernier. Tavernier doesn't know whether to go with Hatate inside or stay out on the wing. I think it's Daizen Maeda on the wing. That's where Hatate makes that burst and run, ends up cutting the ball across, and Kyogo taps it in. So many goals like that have happened, especially at Celtic Park. We're very good at doing that, especially if teams want to sit in with a low block. That's what we're really good at, having the runners. So Moy and Hatate are probably instrumental, just as big as what Callum McGregor is. And I can't believe I'm saying that, because McGregor's huge for Celtic. He's the captain, he's the number one player. But Moy and Hatate are probably pivotal to the way we play play football under Ange. So I'm fingers crossed, toes crossed, everything's crossed that they two make it.
Aye, same. They're absolutely massive for us. Do you think there's any similarities? We've talked about the third league game last season at Ibrox. We won it 2-1. If you remember the final game, post-split, one at Celtic Park, ended up a bit edgy. It was 1 each. Rangers were the better team in the second half. I don't think many people expected that going into that game. You thought 6 point lead. If we can go and blow them away that day, 9 points, it's sealed. The game played out again because Rangers had to win it to have any chance. Bit nervy in the second half, caught everybody by surprise. Do you think there's any chance that something like that could happen? Because I know it's earlier. This is the pre-split game, not the post-split one, but the gap's 9 points now. So that's a healthy lead. And again, they need to win it to have any chance of keeping hopes alive. So do you think we could maybe end up with a scenario like that again, or do you think the circumstances are just totally different this time?
I'd probably sway to the circumstances are different, and I probably think that just down to, I think there's a lot more pressure on Rangers. So Beale's had 2 cracks at us. He's had one at Ibrox where they all cling on to, we were 3 minutes away from a victory. Well, if you were that close, you'd be in the run for the title.
That's Steven Gerrard won, innit? If the game's finished at 85 minutes, we'd be top of the league.
If Gerrard didn't slip, they would have won the league. Do you know what I mean? For Liverpool, it's all these factors. Like, the fact is, Celtic pushed when they playing that well and got the goal. That's what we are good at. But I don't think I think Rangers are going to have a lot more pressure on them. Again, touching on the no away fans. So when Celtic do the huddle, Rangers usually go over at that corner and applaud the fans. It's almost like they don't want to look at Celtic and see that huddle and see the atmosphere around them. You'll never walk alone. They'll have players there that will be like, this is unbelievable. Look at this place. I wish Ibrox was as good as this. Genuinely, right? Because it's unbelievable. But all the pressure's on Rangers, because if they lose again, Beale's looking at a draw at Ibrox when Celtic didn't play that well and Rangers have played really well. You're looking at a cup final. You've lost a cup final and they didn't really have a go. That's what they would say. Didn't have a go, didn't press, didn't start with such and such. So they've lost cup final. Then if they lose to Celtic in the league, which then kills I already think the title's over anyway, but that almost solidifies it, says, nah, you're not getting it. And then you go into another final. What does that have going into, the semi-final, what does that have going into that? If Rangers have a batter in here, if there's another 3-4-0, what's the mindset of these Rangers players going to be? You're falling in line with Morelos, players that want to leave, like Ryan Jack's not signed contracts. All this has an effect on players, of course it does. We've seen it. We've seen it in Christopher Ayer, Edward, Ryan Christie, people that had their time and wanted to move on, but we kept on to them. It's almost like that's what's happening at Rangers, and it kind of backfired on us. I mean, we lost one of the games 4-1 at Ibrox in the COVID season, remember that? We were a mess at that time, and it almost feels like it's shifted. And I know Beale's done all right result-wise, but he's not really battered anybody, to be fair. Like, he's had a good result at Hearts, but if you look at Hearts now, Aberdeen are a point behind them. Aberdeen lost to Darvel, and they could be getting 3rd spot in Scotland. So it just shows you how football can change. But Rangers haven't really battered anybody, and in the 2 games we've played them, I've not really thought they've really progressed. They've got a lot better from Giovanni Van Bronckhorst to Michael Beale. I don't see a fact of going, but they look alright. Next year's going to be a tough season, so all the pressure's on Beale. He needs to come here. He has to get a result, because if he doesn't, the pressure's going to be on him, especially if they then loses that semi-final. They've got nothing to play for. Celtic would then be looking at very strong for a treble, and that's the biggest issue that they've got. So I almost feel all the pressure's on Rangers, because it's almost like not a lose-lose situation for Celtic, but it almost feels like, well, if we were to lose the semi-final, then we've still got 2 trophies. We're still the dominant force in Scotland, and that's why there's more pressure probably on Rangers than there is Celtic.
Aye, there's no doubt they've improved under Michael Beale. 14 wins out of 15, same as us in the league. That the other one is the 2-2 draw at Ibrox. Coming into this game on Saturday, we've talked a lot about form and personnel, different factors, injuries maybe. What do you think is the single biggest determining factor? I'll go first, right, because I think in this game it's absolutely key. It always is in these games, but I think particularly on Saturday, a fast start with the crowd behind us, 60,000, no away fans. I think if we can start the game quickly, Rangers are coming into the game in a position 9 points behind. They know that if they don't win, it's absolutely done and dusted. I think if we get a fast start and an early goal, it could be a long day for Rangers.
Aye, I'd agree, but also in the sense of, well, if you look at last season, Ramsey gets that early goal, and you think, oh no, the play's bouncing, and all of a sudden we responded really well, and that's a sign of a really good team when the crowd's on you, because the place was bouncing, I remember, and it was quite quick. We responded after Ramsey's goal, wasn't it? I think it was Tom Rogic that scored maybe
5 minutes later or something.
Like 10, 11 minutes into the game, so we responded really well. I don't see, if Celtic take the lead on Saturday, I don't see how Rangers are going to get that quick goal and almost counteract it and go, whoa, I didn't see that coming. It almost feels if Celtic get an early goal, it's going to probably be a bit of a sore one for Rangers on Saturday. That's the way I'm probably swaying to. We're in a better place. We feel like we're in a better place than Rangers.
And that's not based on, that's based on recent history in the fixture. Like when Rangers have come to Celtic Park last February, it's 3-0 at half time. The first derby this season, 4-0 again, we were 3-0 up at half time. We have blown them away, and we've shown that if we start these games quickly, the Rangers' heads go, and they can't find a way back into the game when they come to Celtic Park and they're up against Postecoglou's team. I always ask you for a prediction. We touched on it at the start of the video. You nailed it last season in this in this corresponding fixture. What are you going for on Saturday?
I'm going to sway to. I'm going to. See, I've got a couple of results in my head, right? As everybody does, right? But I'm probably going to go let my head over my heart, because my heart says that we're going to get battered. But I'll go 3-0. People are probably going to go, that is a battering. I think. I just think Celtic are in a better place than Rangers. I do. I think we've got better players, a better bench. There's a better harmony where everybody's pulling in the same direction. You look at obviously quickly with Rangers. It almost just feels like it's like trying to shove something together that's just no gelling. It's no full there. And I know they've had good results, but I think Celtic are just in a much better place under Ange at this time. So I'm going to go 3-0 Celtic. I'll give you goal scorers. I'll give you Kyogo first goal scorer. It's going to be the typical goal that Kyogo gets. And that movement is so difficult. They're going to pull somebody out into Maeda. He's going to cut it across, and Kyogo's going to score. The place is going to go mental. First 15 minutes, that will happen. I think then the game will then kind of be a to and from a little bit for about 10-15 minutes almost. And then I think Celtic are going to get the second goal probably between the 30th and the half-time 45 minutes, in between that bracket. Probably maybe against the run of play. Rangers will try and go for, like Tavernier will go further up the park, and I think Celtic will end up picking them off at that point. 2-0, seals the 3 points. Title's done. Second half, I think O will come on, and I think he'll probably get a goal. I think he's starting to fit in at Celtic quite well. He's starting to understand what it takes, what it's like. Seeing what Ross County, that touch was unbelievable. It was
unbelievable. I just need to say one thing on O, right? I can't believe how low the bar is for some people to say, oh, maybe we should drop Kyogo and start Owen on Saturday. He's turned a 16-year-old Ross County defender, and everybody's dying for him to start this game against Rangers. It's bonkers.
Kyogo's got to start simply down to he's starting to come into these games. He's starting to enjoy them. You look at the goal at Ibrox that he gets.
Three in his last two.
He was in the right place at the right time, and then the goals at Hampden are just massive. And he knows where to be. And he's coming up against probably Rangers main men almost in that sense. Connor Golden, Tavernier. You look at that. That's where he's sitting in between players like that. Who's the boy at the other side?
Davies.
Davies. Aye. So he's sitting in and he's getting the better of them every time because his movement's just really, really good. People are struggling. You look over your shoulder, go right. He's there. I've got him. Before you know it, Barisic just sliding into the net with him. Going, cheers, mate. See you later. That's how good he actually is. So. People probably underestimate it. Oh, he just runs. Just get the big boy because he's strong, muscly, he'll turn folk. But football's no played like that nowadays. It's especially Celtic, and these guys playing really good football. So I'm going to go 3-0. The place is going to be bouncing. I'm looking forward to the pre-match with some of the singers coming and stuff like that. I'm a big fan of that. I enjoy that. Gets the atmosphere going instead of just
especially with the full crowd.
We out this. Sometimes you just get the music through this the tannoy in the stadium, and it's alright at times, but when you get somebody singing, it's almost like people are just singing along with the people, and it just gets the atmosphere good. So I'm really looking forward to the game. I think we'll come out with the 3 points and roll on the title party.
I'll take 3-0, mate. I'll absolutely take 3-0. I'm buzzing. It's a Saturday as well. It's not often you get a Saturday kick-off in these games. There you go. That concludes the preview show. Like this video, comment with your own thoughts below. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. I'll be back with you on Friday with the starting 11 prediction before the game, and then on Saturday we've got all the normal full-time reaction and the post-match pint from Malone's after the game as well. See you shortly. Cheers.